So the 5 primary retirement regrets are things that were ran by Lincoln Financial Group. They came up with this study and they found that the number one regret, in no particular order, of the 5 is not having a written plan. The second regret is not having an income plan. The third regret was not having a tax plan. The fourth regret was not having a plan for medical or long-term care expenses. And the fifth was that we didn't retire sooner. Those are the big 5. I'm going to break those down individually for everyone at home so they can kind of get their hands around this. The first one is not having a written plan. Shockingly, only 18% of retirees have a written plan, and 42% of retirees have no plan at all. I don't know. That is hard for me to believe that you've worked 30 years and your life savings are hanging out there. You're done and you don't have any way of addressing, now that you're not going to get a paycheck anymore, how that money is going to be protected, preserved, and last you for the next 30 years. But that's obviously a regret for a lot of folks that probably get into it and they're anxious. They don't do enough stuff. And it's not that people go and don't have a plan and run out of money ready. They end up not spending any of their plan because they're not comfortable in what they can spend to enjoy their retirement. So that first one is a big one for me because it causes people not to enjoy their retirement. It's the opposite. By putting it on paper, it frees you to spend and enjoy more of your retirement dollars. The second one is I didn't have an income plan. Now, this is very similar. It ties a little bit to the first one. I didn't have an income plan. Shockingly, 68% of retirees do not have a budget for their anticipated income and expenses in retirement, which is shocking when you really think about it. This is according to Fidelity Investments. And when you think that through, the only way to kill fear, to kill anxiety, to not take on too much risk is to have a budget, right? Every company has it. You need to treat your personal finances, your life savings, like your very own company. And you got to have a budget. And that budget will empower you to say, all right, I've got more than enough money that I need to last through retirement. I probably should back off some risk then. Why am I taking so much risk if I know I have enough? These are the things that bring it all together. And without them, almost 70% of people don't have an income plan on how they're going to navigate the expenses of retirement. That can't happen. That's why, obviously we talked about our income 10 earlier. That is a huge tool to help people understand their income needs each and every year to ensure that they spend more of their life savings. Regret 3, not having a tax plan. This is often ignored because their accountant obviously helps them plan, obviously, what happened last year, but not what's happening in the upcoming years. And their financial advisor's only tax advice their whole life was wait until 73 to touch your IRA. Tax planning is so important in retirement when it comes to your largest liability, your IRA. You have to have a tax plan that breaks down when and how much to take out of your IRA every year, whether it be a conversion or just pay tax on it. You should be paying tax on your IRA every year if you're in retirement and it still, has a balance, because that is how you beat Uncle Sam. Not waiting till 73, running into the widow's penalty, then running into the kiddo's penalty, and overpaying taxes. You need to have that mapped out using a team of CPAs, and obviously, hopefully empowering you to spend the money that you're taking money out of in your retirement accounts. And fourth, obviously a plan for long-term care. This is where obviously I came in as an estate planning and elder care law attorney. No one wants to talk about regret 4 until it happens, right? Until someone goes in a nursing home, gets the prognosis for Alzheimer's or dementia, no one wants to address this plan, but it's a big regret because it's a big cost. This is the largest cost of retirement, $100,000 plus a year in the Midwest and growing, of going into a nursing home. So not talking about it and brushing it under the rug, a lot of families look back and say, oh my gosh, we could have really got ahead of this. We have things like asset protection trusts in the Midwest now, where you can actually move your home, different assets, different investments. And if they're outside of your name for a certain number of years, you get the tax benefits of still having to be part of your taxable estate, but you get the protection from the nursing home. These are huge parts. It's why a long-term care encompass is part of every roadmap we build at Golden Reserve, because it's that important. It's the largest risk, and it's always overlooked because no one ever thinks they're going in a nursing home. But I challenge everyone, don't think about planning to go in the nursing home. Think about it. What happens if I go in nursing home? Because you have homeowners insurance and you don't plan for your house to burn down, but you still have the insurance. So think of the planning that way. And the fifth and last regret is like, I don't have an estate plan. I didn't have any estate planning. And this usually comes up when a spouse passes. A lot of times a spouse passes and the burden shifts to the surviving spouse. And they're like, I don't know what they'd want. Should we give it to the grandkids? Should we give it to the kids? Who should the healthcare power of attorney, financial power of attorney, executor, trustee? Do I need a trust? All of these things become overwhelming because they weren't planned ahead of time. If you're healthy and you know what you want, obviously getting these documents in place in your 60s is way easier than your 70s, which is way easier than your 80s or way easier than your 90s. So having an estate plan is part of every plan. It's the bottom of retirement mountain, right? We have to make sure what's the good of having all of these assets if we don't control how or where they go when we're both gone. And a lot of times they can do more harm than good if we don't have a good system of transferring. They can divide families because people are bereaved and they're fighting. So these are the big 5 regrets, Randy. And I always want to say, a lot of these things that came up in this study is exactly what we address with every roadmap for retirement at Gold Reserve, because protecting and preserving your life savings should be the first step in retirement, as opposed to jumping in and trying to figure out who can give me the biggest return. Yeah!